Ever found yourself gazing at a blank page in your journal, overwhelmed by the possibilities, only to end up drawing a blank? Surrounded by all your supplies, the desire to create is there, but you just feel empty inside. I recently posted a video about what I do when I'm in a creative slump, and I will link that video for you below in case you missed it. And one of the comments I received really touched me, and I'm sure many of you can relate to this comment. So Susie writes, "Sadly, I don't feel like I've lost my mojo. I never seem to have found it in the first place. I have a great craft space. I have tons of supplies. I watch videos, especially yours, for inspiration. And when I sit down to craft, I just get overwhelmed. It's like every idea escapes my head, and then when I do a spread, it looks terrible. I get so discouraged. I know it's not about perfection, but I'm starting to wonder if junk journaling is just not for me." This won't do. We cannot let Susie give up on junk journaling. And by the way, thank you so much to all of those who have replied to Susie's comment with so much compassion. This community is just the best. I love you guys so much. So Susie, today I'm on a mission to inspire you and anyone else who is in a similar situation to find joy in creating by taking one baby step at a time. Welcome, it's Barbara from Vienna, Austria. So my first tip would be to pick something smaller to work on, whether it's a tag or a journaling card or just something small. I would not start out with a spread like this because that in itself is overwhelming. Maybe you have something in your journal already that is small, like a smaller page. Like here, I have a paper bag. Why not start with this? My next step is to think about what do I actually want to put on here. So I would like some kind of a focal point. Maybe you have a theme in your journal, or maybe you have something laying around you that you feel drawn to at this moment. Maybe you have vintage books with beautiful images or magazines or some digitals that you haven't used. In my case, I know the signature for April is going to have a theme of birds. So I want to find a bird that I can add to my little page here. So in my overflowing bookshelf here, by the way, I've just ordered another one for my bedroom because this will not do. This is just crazy. So I have some beautiful vintage books here, especially for birds because I love the birds. So I'm just going to take one. Let's just take this one right here. It's about forest birds. And see if I can find an image in here that speaks to me. This is a beautiful series that I found at my Goodwill a couple of years ago. Just trying to see if I can find some information in case anyone wants to look for this. This was printed in Prague, 1991, copyright. This is the information and the ISBN number in case you want to look for these. And I can see here that I actually already have some that I have torn out. Let me just quickly give you a flip through so you get an idea of these adorable images. I've used quite a few of these already. They're just absolutely gorgeous, aren't they? So, so cute. And it's been a while since I have used them, so great opportunity to do that. But rather than going through all of these, because when I feel overwhelmed, I don't want a lot of choices. So I'm going to try to find something with these pages that are here in front. Of course, it needs something that will work size-wise with my little page here. So looking at these already would be very cute, but kind of hard to fussy cut. He's a bit big, although he kind of would work. Let's keep him in mind. He would be gorgeous. Already lots of choices here. He's too big. No. Oh, he's adorable. Yeah. He speaks to me because of this orange color here, because that is a happy color, especially in combination with these light greens. I really like this. And without overthinking this, this is what I'm going to choose. I really believe the key when you feel overwhelmed is to limit your supplies. So in my case, I am limiting my choices here. I'm not overthinking things. And I choose things that really speak to me in this moment. If I would do the same thing tomorrow, I would probably choose a different image. And at this point, I have no idea what I'm going to do with it. I have no idea what my background is going to look like. I'm not worried about it because we're doing this in baby steps right now. The only thing I'm focused on is fuzzy cutting this image and just enjoying the process of creating, and also actually feeling proud that even though I felt overwhelmed and I had no idea what to create, I'm sitting here at my craft desk and I decided to show up anyway. And no matter what happens now, I can be proud of myself for just showing up here. I find it easier to leave a border when I'm cutting intricate images like this, rather trying to cut exactly on the border of the image. I also think it will make the image stand out better. Small scissors really help, and moving the image is easier than moving your scissors. So you see how I am turning the image as I go, kind of makes the process a lot smoother than if I were to always move my scissors. Because this right hand where my scissors are is staring fairly straight the whole time. What helps me personally as well is to keep my workspace tidy, because all of these things that are on my desk distract me. So I am going to throw this away immediately. That way I feel that I can focus a lot better on the project that I'm actually working on. But that's just me. I know a lot of crafters like the chaos and feel creative around that. So you do you. So I think the size is really great. Let's just clamp this down. So placing this on here now, I see that I don't like this background. So I want to have a background that has a little bit of interest on it so that it's not boring, but I don't want it to be as busy as this because this is taking my focus away from this beautiful bird. So what can I do to alter this background? Two easy things come to mind immediately. Obviously, there's many different options, but I want to keep it simple. So one would be to glue something else over this. It could be maybe a book page or any other calm papers that you might have that will fit whatever colors you have going on with your image, or you could paint over it. My go-to for starting a background would be to use white gesso, but I want to try something new. So let's move him out of the way, and I'm going to use some buff titanium. It's a beautiful neutral color as well. And I'm going to use a little brayer. Alternatively, you could use a paintbrush. I'll put it straight on the brayer. Okay, this is going to need a lot more because actually in this case, I want to cover up most of this. I really don't need to see a lot of that underneath. I don't mind if I see a little bit of it peeking through because it's always nice to see the origin of your substrate, but it's not that pretty that I'm like, yes, I really want to see that. Once I have dried this with my heat gun, I realize I don't actually like the color and I still see too much of this through. So I am going to add some white gesso. This time I am choosing one that is a little more heavy bodied. White paint would also work. And I'm also going to switch my tool just for the fun of it. I'm going to use this scraper. I'll put the gesso right onto my paper bag. And this will, of course, again, give me a different effect than the brayering. So once this has dried, I'm again placing my focal point onto my sheet. And now I see, okay, all this writing is covered up, so that's perfect. I do still see on the edge here that it did have a print on it, so that is perfect. But I don't see enough interest on the background. So the first thing I want to add is some color. Now I could just take my Distress Oxides, but I want to do something that I haven't done in a while, which is just to use my watercolors. So I have this set here that I put together myself, and this is just a soap box that I got on a trip to Istanbul. And inside I added a little palette of watercolors from White Nights, and I want to stick to neutral tones, so I will go with these two colors. These are artist grade, meaning they are very highly pigmented. So I need to be careful not to go overboard with these. So let's add some water, wake them up. I'm also kind of keeping in mind where my focal point is. So it's more empty up here and here. So let's start with this. Oh, there's not enough water. I'll just start with this one. This is such a beautiful warm tone. I wish I could read it, but I can't. It's too small. I am also keeping in mind that this is just a thin paper bag, so I can't go wild with liquids on this because that would make it tear. But thankfully I have some gesso on it that will help it not to soak everything into the paper bag. So let's just add some here. Bear with me, I know this looks horrible. And then I will spray a little bit of water so that this can move. And of course, on the gesso, it moves beautifully. If I would have just put this on the paper bag itself, it would soak into it and not give us a lot of movement. So let's tap it a little bit, see where it wants to flow. And of course, it's going to get a lot drier. It's going to get a lot lighter once it dries. So we're probably going to add several layers. So let me start by drying this layer. So once that is dry, I'm going to add some of this cooler gray. Again, adding just a little bit of water this time. I want this to stay a little bit darker. I just want it to move a tiny bit. So once we put our focal point back on, kind of think that the background is overpowering. So what we need to do is push that back a little bit again. So this time I'm going to take my other gesso. This one is thinner. If you don't have a thinner gesso, you can just water down your thicker gesso. You can also water down white acrylic paint. And I'm again going to use my little brayer. I'm gonna be honest, I don't like it. I mean, I like that there's something in the background, but I actually don't like how this white now turned out on my watercolor paint. Let's try another technique. One of my fabulous viewers sent me some techniques, and one of them was by the Creative Cove, and the video is called How to Make Grungy Bubble Paper. I will link that video for you below as well. And I want to try the technique that she uses. So we're going to need book pages. I took 2 with different values, different colors of the page, just to get more interest. Then we need a glue stick, and then we can tear some bits off. I have never tried this technique before, so no idea what's going to happen. Maybe let's do smaller pieces. Apparently, every book page is going to work differently. This might be a complete fail, but that's okay, because in any case, we can always put something over it. Maybe it'll just give us some additional texture to strengthen our paper bag. Let's see. I also don't know if a gessoed background is a good background to do this with. So we're just going to add our paper strips. I don't think it matters if you actually put the glue on the paper or your surface, your substrate. It It also depends on how long you let the glue dry. Very curious. Always so fun to try new things. And you see already my creative juices are flowing. I'm going to dry this a little bit with my heat tool because I don't have time to wait for this to dry. That was like less than a minute, but it feels dry. So let's see what happens when we start pulling these off. The goal, of course, is to have some nice grungy edges. Okay, there's a lot coming off. I did want a little more showing. Actually, this is really nice. Look at that. Love that. Let's see how this paper reacts. Okay, so this one is, I think, harder to get off, which is fine. Yeah. Okay, I didn't glue this one very well, apparently. Oh no! It's okay, Barbara. Leave your perfectionism behind. It's so hard. In my mind, the perfectionist and the grungy girl are battling it out at the moment. Let's see who wins. I'm going to dry this one a little bit more. All right, did that do anything? Yeah, I guess. Okay, I'll just leave that one. So what do we think? I'm not sure. I think it needs more here in the middle. And of course, I'm going to also go over these a little bit. It's a super busy background at the moment. At this point, I might as well just left the original print, which was probably less busy than what I have here. So I want to add some more book page here. Do I want the dark one or no? I'll take the light one. I think that also worked a little bit better. I have no idea how this background is going to look in the end. But I can guarantee you one thing. I am not giving up until I'm happy. Because now I feel the challenge. And I'm like, bring it on. I'm going to succeed no matter what happens here. Always enjoy a little crafty challenge. Okay, I think that is better. Time to push this back a little bit again. I'll use my thinner gesso and my scraper. So now I'm again at the point where I want to add some color back in, but not too much because I learned that that was just overpowering, but also this, it's not enough for me as a background. So this time I will go with Distress Oxides. I'll use these two sprays. Why did I choose these? Because they are neutral colors and because I see these two colors in the bird. So in the head here, we have a gray, which is darker than my Lost Shadow, but again, I don't want this to be overpowering. And the frayed burlap is similar to the color we have here on the body, although this would actually probably be more like Vintage Photo, but I don't have that as a spray. And I don't want to mess around with other mediums right now. I want to keep it simple. So I want to start off with the Lost Shadow. I could spray through a stencil, but I think I'll just do it like this. You see, it's very light. I'm not even going to move it that much, just a little bit. Okay, so then let's dry that. So it's dry now. And if we add a little bird on top, I'm already liking that a lot better, but I do want to add the warmth of the frayed burlap. Now with this one, I really need to be careful not to add too much. You see, it's a fairly dark color, and now if I feel it's already too much, I can just take a kitchen towel and take some of that right off, because obviously these are water soluble. So then we can add some water. Now I don't have to be as careful anymore with the paper bag because I have so many layers underneath already that nothing should actually happen to it. Obviously, this is now going to mix with the Lost Shadow, which is totally fine. And again, this will get a little bit lighter once it dries. But I think I want to dab some of it away. The cool thing is with the gesso underneath, I have full flexibility of how dark I want this to be. So let's dry that. Let's check again. What does it look like with our little bird? I'm actually happy with this, but just because I have this white border to make our image stand out more. Otherwise, I don't think I would like it as much. We are not done, but we have something that we like. So let's give ourselves a pat on the back for that. I always love adding texture to my collages. So let me see, what do I have right in front of me on my desk? And because I recently reorganized my craft desk, I have all these wonderful paper scraps right in front of me so that I use them more, because I wasn't using these because they were somewhere tucked away under my little acrylic shelf. And what is jumping right out at me is this here. This is from palm tree leaves from Egypt, which my hubby brought me. Wouldn't these be actually really, really great here? Let's see. We could make these look like they are part of the branch by putting them underneath. That also adds a little bit more warmth. I'm not sure how easy that's going to be to glue down, but I love it. That looks like a bird nest actually, which was not even planned. If we add a little more, we can make that look even more like a nest. Oh my goodness, this is amazing. I'm not sure if you can tell, but at this point, I'm having a great time. Definitely looks like a nest, doesn't it? Oh my goodness, that makes me so happy and totally not planned. That's when the best things happen. Oh my goodness, oh my goodness. This is so cute. This would be awesome if it was on a heavier cardstock now, of course, but we will do what we can. Also, I think I would need to cut out this white part here in the middle. Let me start off by cutting out this middle part. Okay, that is a lot better. And I just remembered that I got a scrap from Louise. This is my scrap basket I made for Defemember 2023. And in here I have scraps from Louise and also bits that were left over during Defemember. And I remember one particular scrap that I think might be just the perfect detail here, if I can find it. There we go. So this is obviously from an Edith Holden page, and look at that, we have an egg. Let's cut it out and see if that would work. Oh my goodness, I love it, I love it, I love it. Yep, we are totally doing that, but we are also inking this one up. Thank you, Louise. This was the perfect touch for this collage. Yes. So now for the challenge of gluing these pieces down. Let's take this out. I don't want to lose the position of these because this seems pretty perfect. Okay, let's start by just adding some glue on the bottom here, which obviously will not be enough. Okay, this part is not so much fun, I have to admit that. Okay, then let's glue him down. That will help the other parts to stick down. Being very generous with my glue here. But let's not forget the egg. That still needs to go underneath those leaves. I want a little bit more contrast, so I'm going to add some Vintage Photo spray stain. Let's add a little bit of water to that. Let's also cover his face. Don't want him to get splatters. And let's also add some gold splatters. I'm going to use my spray stain tarnished brass. Why I'm not spraying it, I don't know. I'm so excited. Those are tiny splatters. Do we like those? I want something a little bigger. And finally, I think a sentiment would make this collage complete. I am turning to these. Stampers Anonymous, Tim Holtz. They're called Tiny Text CMS 394. There are many in here that would work for today. Do what you love. Be authentic. Believe in yourself. That would be a great one for today. Creativity takes courage is also a great one. The impossible is often the untried. Imperfections make life interesting. All of these would be great. How to choose just one? I think I'll go for the impossible is often the untried. I'll use a cut off book page strip. I really like this torn edge, so I'm just going to leave it instead of cutting that straight. And I'm not even going to edge it. Look at me, doing all sorts of things I usually never do. I have a huge smile on my face. This basically came from nothing. I had no clue what to do with this paper bag. And by putting one baby step after the other, look what we got. This is one of my favorite collages ever. So let yourself be surprised. Try this approach and let me know if it works for you or what works for you. Love you guys. Mwah, mwah.